I hired an escort to be my +1 at my best friend's wedding, thinking it was just a one-time deal, but she kept calling me afterwards and even started spending time with me without charging. When I finally asked why, she said, "You're the only one who ever treated me like a real person, not just a transaction." I'm Dave, 29 years old. I've been unattached for nearly 7 years, and frankly, I find that suits me. My career demands a significant portion of my time and vitality, leaving me desiring solitude by day's end. I'm not someone who constantly requires company. When encountering new individuals, I tend to be quite reserved until I've established a rapport. Some might label this as aloofness, but it's simply my nature. My family struggles to grasp this. Each time we gather for celebrations or special occasions, my romantic status becomes a topic of inquiry. My younger brother, Mark, 27, tied the knot 3 years ago and now has 2 children, a fact my parents delight in mentioning at every opportunity. My friends echo similar sentiments, convinced there's an issue with me because I'm not pursuing relationships. Last month, my childhood best friend, Jake, also 29, exchanged vows. As his best man, I was informed by Jake 2 months prior that he intended to arrange a date for me with one of his fiancé's acquaintances for the ceremony. I instantly recognized her name. They had previously attempted this match, and I had declined. I had no desire to be paired with anyone, particularly not someone they had already tried to connect me with. Jake was persistent, insisting I needed a companion for the wedding, believing my solo appearance as the best man would seem odd. I assured him I'd handle it. I understood that attending alone would invite endless questions about my single status. I required a straightforward fix. That's when the notion of employing an escort arose. I simply needed someone to join me for the weekend, nothing beyond that. I located a well-regarded agency online and finalized the plans. I was explicit about my requirements. Merely an attendee for the wedding, no additional services. The escort assigned to me introduced herself as Nina, 27. When we met for coffee the day before the wedding to review our strategy, I was taken aback. She was stunning, taller than my 5 feet 7 inches at approximately 5 feet 9 inches in heels, and possessed a vibrant, effervescent personality, a stark contrast to my own. We devised a narrative for our meeting. She was a friend from my classic car restoration group, a hobby I genuinely pursue, allowing me to discuss it authentically if questioned. The wedding weekend unfolded more smoothly than anticipated. Nina was utterly professional and blended in seamlessly. She conversed with my friends and relatives, danced at the reception, and everyone appeared to genuinely enjoy her company. We engaged in light conversation with other attendees, and no one harbored any suspicions. Upon the wedding's conclusion, I compensated her the agreed-upon fee, along with a generous gratuity, acknowledging her exceptional performance. We parted ways, and I believe that was the conclusion of our interaction. Roughly 3 weeks later, Nina messaged me, inquiring about my weekend plans. Her contact surprised me, but I informed her I was embarking on a mountain road excursion with my car club. These are relaxed, monthly drives along picturesque routes. She then asked if she could join. I was perplexed, having made it clear I wasn't seeking an escort for a car club gathering. Nina promptly clarified that she wasn't requesting payment. She simply wished to accompany us for enjoyment. This baffled me. Why would she desire to spend time without compensation? Yet, I found myself agreeing regardless. The drive proceeded smoothly. Nina appeared genuinely captivated by the vehicles and connected well with the other members. She even demonstrated an unexpected knowledge of engines. Once the drive concluded, I anticipated our separation once more, but she requested my contact information to maintain communication. Since then, Nina has consistently messaged me and calls in the evenings merely to converse. We've attended films, shared meals, and even simply relaxed at my residence watching television. She's participated in 3 additional car club gatherings, all without any financial exchange. I'm at a loss to comprehend this. Is this a strategy escorts employ to retain clientele? Is she facing difficulties and requires assistance, but is hesitant to ask directly? I struggle to believe she genuinely enjoys my company. I'm not the most captivating individual, and I'm shorter than her. Our personalities are completely divergent. My employment actually led me to begin therapy in February. Following the tragic loss of 2 colleagues in a January car accident, my supervisor observed my immediate return to normalcy, deeming it unhealthy. Consequently, he arranged company-sponsored therapy for me. I attend bi-weekly during work hours. I confess I don't truly subscribe to the concept of therapy, a sentiment I conveyed in our initial session. Most sessions involve him posing fundamental questions and my providing concise replies. Last week, I brought up the situation with Nina to my therapist. He proposed that perhaps Nina harbored genuine romantic feelings for me. I scoffed at the notion, There's no conceivable way someone like her would be attracted to an individual like me. She's vivacious and attractive, while I'm reserved and, at best, unremarkable in appearance, so I entirely discarded that suggestion. For those curious about why I didn't simply attend the wedding solo, Jake genuinely desired my bringing a companion. The alternative was an uncomfortable setup with someone I had already rejected. Regarding the car club, it's merely a gathering of ordinary individuals who enjoy automotive work, nothing ostentatious or indicative of affluence. And concerning the height difference, I'm not self-conscious. I'm merely stating observations, as most couples I encounter feature the male being taller than the female. So, what exactly is occurring here? Why would an escort choose to spend time with a former client without compensation? I am truly perplexed by her intentions and uncertain of my next course of action. Update 1. My gratitude extends to everyone who replied to my initial submission. Many of you proposed Nina might genuinely harbor affection for me, while others cautioned against potential deceptions or ulterior motives. I chose to dedicate more time to contemplating the circumstances. Firstly, I should elucidate a few points based on your feedback. I am not affluent. I am merely middle class with consistent employment. I possess no concealed riches Nina might be pursuing. My automotive pastime is likewise not costly. I focus on older, economical models and perform most of the labor myself. Regarding my disposition, I exercise caution with new acquaintances due to a past incident. I dislike revealing vulnerability, particularly to those I don't know intimately. Only Jake has witnessed that aspect of me. This doesn't imply rudeness or a complete lack of emotion. I simply maintain superficial interactions with most individuals. Some of you posited that I might be aromantic. I had never considered that before, but it's a possibility. I engaged in dating during college because it was the prevailing norm, but I never found the entire experience enjoyable. I ceased dating at 23 upon realizing I was doing so to fulfill others' expectations, not my own desires. Over the last 2 weeks, Nina and I have continued to spend time together. During one of our discussions, I eventually inquired about her profession. She disclosed that she had not worked as an escort since December, nearly 8 months prior. She began escorting during the pandemic after being laid off from her waitressing position, needing funds for nursing school, and viewing it as a transient arrangement. Nina completed nursing school in December and is now employed as a pediatric nurse at the local children's hospital. When I questioned why she accepted the assignment to accompany me to the wedding if she was no longer escorting, she clarified that the agency had contacted her regarding a straightforward, well-compensated weekend task, and she could utilize the additional income for an upcoming vacation. She also mentioned that during her time as an escort, she rarely engaged in sexual acts with clients, primarily offering companionship for social events and meals. I accept her account. Her past is not for me to scrutinize. She didn't probe my history when I confessed my difficulty in opening up, so I afforded her the same consideration. Following our discussion, I began observing our interactions more closely, free from the preconceived notion of her former profession. I discerned several elements I had overlooked in recent months. We had been engaging in very typical, couple-like activities, watching films at my apartment, ordering takeout, even miniature golfing with my niece and nephew on one occasion. She consistently offered a brief kiss on my cheek when we parted, a gesture that had been occurring for at least a month. I had presumed this was merely a friendly gesture, but now I'm less certain. The more I considered it, the more apparent it became. There was no professional or monetary incentive for her to spend time with me. She was doing so by choice. This past Friday, Nina visited my apartment. We indulged in some cannabis, nothing potent, just enough to unwind, and opted to watch The Lion King. During the film, just before the stampede sequence, Nina became quiet. She shifted closer, resting her head on my shoulder. She drew her blanket over both of us and remained in that position for the remainder of the movie. As the credits began to scroll, she didn't stir. Something resonated within me, and I resolved to seize the moment. I turned slightly and gently kissed the crown of her head. She gazed up at me, smiled, and returned my kiss. One moment flowed into the next, culminating in our spending the night together. The following morning, we engaged in an extensive conversation. Nina conveyed that she had genuinely found pleasure in the wedding weekend and didn't perceive it as labor, which was why she contacted me afterward. She desired to see me again. She stated that her emotions evolved progressively as we spent more time together. What astonished me most was her mention of specific actions I took that she valued. Offering my jacket when a car meet grew chilly, opening doors for her, and attentively listening when she spoke about her profession. To me, these were simply fundamental courtesies, but Nina clarified that many men she encountered through escorting regarded her as an object, not an individual. She also disclosed that during her time as an escort, She alienated several friends who judged her for it. Romantic relationships proved nearly impossible, as men either fixated on her profession or couldn't reconcile with her past. She felt isolated, save for a handful of friends who were also escorts. Upon completing nursing school and ceasing escort work, she sought a fresh start. She perceived me as someone who had treated her with dignity, even when I was technically a client, which was why she wished to continue seeing me. Nina expressed feeling at ease in my presence. My reserved demeanor doesn't trouble her. In fact, it complements her more vivacious personality. She even appreciates my being shorter than her, as previous partners had made her feel insecure about her stature. I conveyed to Nina that I also held affection for her, but cautioned her that I'm not adept at relationships. My reserved disposition and unease with vulnerability might render me challenging as a partner. Nina immediately brushed aside my apprehensions, playfully calling me foolish for imagining that would deter her. We concurred that formal dating was illogical, given we had essentially been doing so for months already. And just like that, we transitioned into a couple. Update 2. The last 6 weeks with Nina have presented an entirely novel experience for me. I'm still adapting to being in a relationship after such an extended period of solitude, but matters are progressing remarkably well. The primary significant alteration is having someone consistently reside at my apartment. Nina stays over 3 or 4 nights weekly, contingent on our professional timetables. She undertakes 12-hour shifts at the Children's Hospital, whereas I hold a more conventional 9-to-5 position. Despite the complexities of scheduling, we manage effectively. Nina is considerably more demonstrative and emotionally open than anyone I've previously been involved with. She continually seeks physical closeness, holding my hand, embracing me from behind while I prepare coffee, or snuggling beside me on the sofa. Initially, this felt overwhelming, but I'm growing accustomed to it. I even instinctively reach for her hand now. One morning, I awoke to discover Nina pressing my shirt for a crucial meeting. She had also brewed coffee and prepared my lunch. When I inquired about her actions, she simply shrugged and stated it was her desire. No one had ever performed such gestures for me before. Another unforeseen progression is the blending of our social spheres. Last month, Nina presented me to some of her nursing school acquaintances. Subsequently, she also introduced me to 2 women who had formerly worked as escorts alongside her. They were cordial and inviting, treating me like a long-standing acquaintance rather than a newcomer. One of them confided they had been hearing about me for months and were pleased Nina had finally made her move. I've also introduced Nina to my family and friends. Their response was unanticipated. They chuckled, stating they had presumed we were already a couple when they encountered her at Jake's wedding. My mother even remarked that Nina was the first woman I had brought to a family dinner in years. Jake was especially self-satisfied when I informed him about Nina and me. He asserted he had sensed a connection at his wedding, though he clearly had no inkling of our initial arrangement. I allowed him to believe he had inadvertently served as a matchmaker. However, not every aspect has proceeded without difficulty. Last week, while we were shopping at the mall, Nina encountered a former client. The man approached her and uttered some unsuitable remarks, evidently unaware of my presence. Nina froze, and I could discern her discomfort. Before I could intervene, the man noticed me and inquired of Nina if I, too, was an assignment. I positioned myself between them and instructed him to depart. He laughed, but eventually moved away. Nina remained silent for the remainder of our shopping excursion. Later that evening, she broke down, confiding her fear that such incidents would persist, that her past would perpetually intrude upon our present. I reassured her that I am indifferent to her history or others' opinions. I only care about who she is currently. This appeared to offer some solace. But I recognized the event unsettled her confidence in our bond. Another hurdle has been my own unease with emotional closeness. Last week, Nina confessed her love for me. I was unprepared for this declaration and unsure how to react. Instead of speaking, I simply kissed her and shifted the topic. I could perceive her disappointment, but she didn't press the matter. The following day, Nina conveyed her understanding that I'm not yet ready to utter those words, and she doesn't wish for me to say them until I genuinely mean them. She is being patient with me, which I value. Despite these obstacles, our relationship continues to deepen. Nina has even begun leaving some of her belongings at my residence: clothing, toiletries, a spare phone charger. My apartment, which has always been my personal sanctuary, is progressively transforming into our shared space. Update 3. 3 months have elapsed since my previous update, and I wish to convey the advancements in Nina's and my relationship. We have now been together for approximately 5 months in total. 2 months ago, Nina's lease concluded, and we resolved for her to relocate into my apartment. This represented a significant stride for someone who cherished solitude as much as I do, yet it felt appropriate. We repurposed my home office into a versatile space, accommodating her nursing texts and ongoing educational resources. Cohabiting has necessitated an adaptation, though not in the manner I anticipated. The primary difficulty has not been a deficit of space or privacy. Rather, it has been cultivating improved communication. Nina is forthright regarding her requirements and emotions, whereas I tend to internalize matters until they escalate into issues. Last month, this culminated in our first significant disagreement. Nina had been undertaking additional shifts, covering for a colleague on maternity leave. She was fatigued, yet continued to assume more domestic duties. I observed this but remained silent, assuming she would request assistance if needed. One evening, she expressed frustration with my lack of help. We had a strained discussion during which she highlighted her inability to read my thoughts and emphasized my need to be more transparent about my reflections. She was correct. I've spent so many years maintaining distance from others that I'm unsure how to fully allow someone in. Nina has been instructing me on how to articulate myself more effectively, even when it's uneasy. We have established a routine that suits us. On her days off, Nina frequently accompanies me to car restoration gatherings. She has acquired considerable knowledge about engines and bodywork, and the other members have welcomed her into the group. On my free weekends, I occasionally join her for lunch with her nursing colleagues or her former Escort friends, who have proven to be some of the most authentic individuals I've encountered. Speaking of acquaintances, Jake and his wife hosted us for dinner last week. They were astonished by the ease and comfort Nina and I share. Jake drew me aside and confessed he never imagined seeing me in a committed relationship. He quipped that had he known employing an escort would lead to this, he would have proposed it years ago, if only he realized that was precisely what transpired. My family has wholeheartedly embraced Nina. My brother's children adore her, and she interacts wonderfully with them. My parents have ceased their remarks about my single status, though my mother occasionally alludes to grandchildren. Nina manages these comments with poise, neither promoting nor deterring them. Regarding Nina's past, it seldom arises now. We have encountered former clients on 2 additional occasions, but Nina has become more adept at managing these interactions. She either disregards them entirely or presents me as her partner without elaboration or apology. Her self-assurance in such circumstances has significantly increased. The most significant progression occurred 2 weeks ago. Nina and I were returning from a weekend mountain excursion when I stopped at a picturesque viewpoint. We sat on the hood of my vehicle, observing the sunset. Without premeditation or excessive thought, I declared my love for Nina. The words emerged organically, devoid of compulsion or reluctance. Nina wept and reciprocated my sentiments, though she had harbored them for a considerably longer period. Had anyone informed me a year ago that engaging an escort for a wedding would culminate in the most profound relationship of my life, I would have scoffed. Yet here we are. Nina and I possess numerous distinctions. She is gregarious, while I am introverted. She is driven by emotion, while I am guided by logic. Nevertheless, we somehow complement each other. I am still acquiring the skills to be an effective partner, and I occasionally withdraw into myself. But Nina comprehends me more thoroughly than anyone ever has, and she grants me the solitude I require. In exchange, I am learning to be more transparent and engaged for her. I am uncertain what the future holds for us, but for the first time in my adult existence, I genuinely anticipate discovering it. My thanks to all who prompted me to recognize what was directly before me. You were correct. Let's transition to the subsequent narrative. Story 2. My parents extended an offer to finance my university education under stringent terms, which I declined to pursue my aspirations. Now, they seek to dictate my child's future. I, a 32-year-old female, have contended with my relationship with my parents, both in their 60s, and my sister, Patricia, 35, for many years, primarily owing to my vocational path and fiscal choices. To grasp the present circumstances, I must revert to my high school period. During my upbringing, our family consistently presented an impeccable facade. My father was a prosperous accountant, and my mother was a revered high school principal. They served as cornerstones of our community, engaged in local philanthropic endeavors, and our church. Patricia and I were expected to uphold this portrayal of the ideal family. When I was 16 and Patricia 19, our parents convened what they termed a family meeting. Such gatherings were typically reserved for momentous announcements or grave deliberations. Patricia was already in her inaugural year of university, having commenced her pre-medical curriculum. I recall a sense of apprehension, pondering the subject of this assembly. Our parents divulged that they had been accumulating funds for our tertiary education since our birth, possessing substantial college savings for both of us, a considerable relief, as I had been concerned about financing my studies. However, this solace was fleeting as they proceeded to enumerate the stipulations for accessing these funds. To have our 4 years of university fully covered, we were required to attend a state institution, uphold a 3.5 grade point average, grant them access to our academic records each semester, avoid any legal entanglements, and secure their approval for our chosen fields of study. Their rationale was that they had not toiled and saved for years merely for us to squander it on an unproductive qualification. They further pledged a monthly stipend if we consented to these provisions. Patricia, already enrolled in university and flourishing in her pre-medical program, promptly consented. She had consistently been the favored offspring, effortlessly fulfilling our parents' anticipations. I, conversely, felt a wave of apprehension. I had always possessed a more imaginative, idealistic disposition. While I excelled in my English and art courses, I found mathematics and science challenging. At that juncture, uncertain of any alternative, I reluctantly agreed. I was permitted to remain undeclared during my freshman year to complete my general education prerequisites. My hope was that during this period, I would discover a major that both captivated me and garnered my parents' endorsement. That year proved arduous. I enrolled in a diverse array of courses, endeavoring to uncover my true calling while simultaneously contemplating what my parents would sanction. I joined the campus newspaper and developed a profound affection for writing. I selected a creative writing course as an elective and found myself anticipating it more than any other subject. During the summer following my freshman year, my parents again convened with me. They declared it was time to select a major. With a blend of optimism and trepidation, I confessed that my fervor did not lie in the disciplines they desired. I articulated my deep fondness for writing, my proficiency in my creative writing class, and my aspiration to pursue a major in that field. The ensuing silence was profound. Then, my father chuckled, assuming I was jesting. Upon realizing my sincerity, his expression grew stern. My mother appeared disheartened. Both began enumerating reasons why this was an ill-conceived notion. No secure profession, meager income prospects, not a legitimate occupation. I attempted to present my argument, discussing renowned authors and how writing could lead to diverse career avenues such as journalism or publishing. I even proposed a dual major in creative writing and something they approved of, but they remained unyielding. My parents declared these were the conditions and severed my financial support. They stated I could retain their assistance if I selected an acceptable major, but creative writing was unequivocally out of the question. Patricia, who was home for the summer, aligned herself with our parents. She branded me ungrateful and charged me with attempting to exploit our parents' benevolence. I was heartbroken. I felt as though my aspirations were being extinguished, yet I could not bring myself to yield. Thus, I made the arduous choice to proceed independently. I departed my parents' residence and relocated into a minuscule apartment with 2 housemates. I secured full-time employment as a waitress and diminished my academic workload to part-time. It was immensely challenging. I was laboring for extended periods, often late into the night, then endeavoring to study and finalize assignments. My academic performance initially declined as I struggled to equilibrium work and education, but I was resolute in demonstrating to myself and my family that I was capable. It took me 6 years to complete my degree, but I did so, earning a qualification in creative writing. Throughout this period, my connection with my family grew progressively tense. They frequently contrasted me with Patricia, who had completed medical school and commenced her residency as a pediatrician. Following graduation, I encountered difficulties securing employment in my chosen field. I undertook various temporary positions, barista, receptionist, retail, to make ends meet while striving to establish myself as an author. I wrote whenever feasible, submitting short narratives to literary journals and developing my novel during my lunch breaks and late into the night. It was during this time that I encountered Dustin, 34, at a local writing seminar. He was an aspiring screenwriter employed as a high school English teacher. We forged a bond over our shared passion for narrative and our challenges in entering the industry. Dustin provided immense encouragement for my literary ambitions, consistently urging me to persevere even when I felt like capitulating. 3 years ago, I finally achieved my breakthrough. A modest publishing house acquired my debut novel, a coming-of-age tale heavily inspired by my personal journey. To my astonishment and gratification, it attained moderate success. While sales weren't astronomical, they sufficed for me to resign from my day job and dedicate myself entirely to writing. Dustin proposed shortly thereafter, on the evening of my first book signing. We married last year in an intimate ceremony. My parents and Patricia were present, but their felicitations felt insincere. My mother remarked that I was at last establishing myself, and expressed hope that matrimony would introduce some equilibrium into my existence. Throughout this period, my connection with my parents and Patricia remained tense. They consistently disapproved of my professional path and frequently made disparaging remarks about how I should have heeded their advice. Patricia, now a thriving pediatrician, often boasted about her accomplishments and her judicious decisions. Last month, Dustin and I discovered we were expecting our first child. We were ecstatic. After years dedicated to our careers, we felt prepared to commence a family. We resolved to impart the news to both our families during a dinner. Dustin's parents were overjoyed, immediately discussing nursery decor and offering childcare assistance. When we informed my parents and Patricia, their response was, at best, unenthusiastic. My mother's initial inquiry was whether we could sustain a child on a writer's income. My father proposed I consider securing a more conventional occupation now that I had a family to provide for. Patricia interjected, expressing hope the baby would inherit Dustin's pragmatism rather than my capricious disposition. I was wounded by their reactions, but attempted to disregard them, telling myself they were merely concerned for the baby's welfare. However, matters reached a critical point last week when my parents telephoned to discuss the baby shower. They extended an offer to host it, which initially appeared to be an olive branch, but then they began enumerating their stipulations. They desired to sanction the guest list, select the theme, and exert influence over our child-rearing approach. They emphasized the significance of a college fund, naturally with conditions, and stressed the necessity of contemplating the baby's future career from infancy. I was stunned. It felt like a recurrence of past events. I informed them that Dustin and I would make all decisions concerning our child. My mother stated, "These are the terms if you want our help." This evoked painful recollections of the college fund predicament. I rejected their proposition and declared we would organize the shower ourselves. They appeared genuinely taken aback by my refusal. My father asserted I was being obstinate and lacking foresight. My mother insinuated I was deliberately depriving my child of prospects out of resentment. Patricia contacted me later that day, reproaching me for declining our parents' magnanimous offer. She declared I was being unyielding and self-centered, and that I should be appreciative of any assistance I could obtain, particularly given my precarious career. She proceeded to lament her desire to be in a position to commence a family. She is single and career-focused, and how I was squandering the support she would eagerly embrace. I am at a loss. I believed having a child would foster greater closeness within my family, but it appears to have exacerbated the divide. Dustin believes we should distance ourselves from my family for the sake of our mental well-being and our prospective child. A part of me concurs, yet another part still yearns for rapprochement. I cannot help but question if I am overreacting. Am I mistaken for wishing to establish limits with my family? Should I have accepted their aid despite the stipulations? I do not wish to deny my child grandparents and an aunt, but neither do I wish for them to treat my child as they have treated me. The strain of this predicament is affecting me, and I am concerned about its potential impact on my pregnancy. I desire to concentrate on the delight of impending motherhood, but instead, I am perpetually apprehensive about familial discord. How do I navigate this circumstance while safeguarding myself, my marriage, and my unborn child? Update 1. Approximately a month has passed since my previous submission, and I wish to express my gratitude to everyone for their encouraging comments and counsel. Your viewpoints significantly aided my understanding of my circumstances. Following extensive deliberation with Dustin, we resolved to establish resolute boundaries with my family. We dedicated several evenings to discussing the matter thoroughly, weighing the advantages and disadvantages, and deliberating on our desired approach to raising our child. Dustin shared aspects of his own family background. His parents divorced when he was young, and he witnessed firsthand the crucial importance of presenting a unified front as parents. We collaboratively composed an email, meticulously selecting our words. We elucidated that while we appreciate their concern, we are competent adults capable of making our own determinations regarding our careers, finances, and child-rearing methods. We made it explicit that unrequested advice and critique would not be tolerated, and that our decisions concerning our child are not subject to dispute. Dispatching that email proved to be one of the most challenging actions I've ever undertaken. My hand trembled as I pressed the send button, and I spent the subsequent hours oscillating between feelings of empowerment and culpability. The reaction from my family was, to say the least, varied. My father offered no reply whatsoever, characteristic of his tendency to withdraw when confronted with disagreement. My mother dispatched a terse message, stating her disappointment in our choice, but asserting her attempt to honor it. Her message was replete with veiled criticisms about their sole desire for our and the baby's welfare. Patricia, however, erupted. She telephoned me, shouting about my dismantling the family and how I would lament pushing them away when I required assistance with the infant. She recounted every error I had ever committed, from my imprudent decision to pursue creative writing to my precarious professional path. The conversation concluded with her expressing uncertainty about continuing a relationship with me if this was to be my conduct. Notwithstanding the familial discord, Dustin and I proceeded with organizing our baby shower. We opted for a modest, private gathering with close acquaintances and Dustin's relatives. The planning itself was genuinely delightful. We selected a children's book motif as an homage to our shared passion for narrative. The shower itself was charming, imbued with authentic happiness and anticipation for our baby. It stood in stark contrast to the strain with my family and reaffirmed our judiciousness in establishing boundaries. A week following the shower, I received an unexpected call from my childhood confidant, Lily, 32. We had gradually grown apart after high school, primarily due to attending disparate universities and the demands of our lives. She had learned of the family strife from a mutual acquaintance and wished to check on me. During our conversation, Lily disclosed something that illuminated my family's conduct. Apparently, during our high school years, my parents had approached Lily's parents with a comparable college fund proposition. Lily's parents, both educators, had declined, asserting it was manipulative and would impose undue burden on Lily. This resulted in a rupture between our families, explaining why Lily and I had distanced ourselves after high school. This revelation felt like a missing piece of a puzzle falling into place. It made me comprehend that my parents' domineering behavior was not exclusive to me or even to their offspring. It was a consistent pattern in their interactions with others as well. This insight bolstered my determination to uphold boundaries, not solely for myself, but for the welfare of my child. On a more positive note, my literary career is thriving. My publisher extended a 2-book agreement, predicated on the synopsis for my next novel and the sales performance of my initial work. This arrangement will afford some financial security for our expanding family, which is a considerable relief. I have established a writing regimen that I intend to uphold even after the baby's arrival. Dustin has been exceptionally supportive throughout this entire process. He is even transforming our guest room into a home office for me, complete with a comfortable armchair for when I need to write while nursing. His enthusiasm about becoming a father is contagious, and it helps to offset the strain from my family situation. As my pregnancy advances, we have been attending childbirth classes and preparing for the baby's advent. It is a bittersweet experience to undertake this without my family's participation, yet it is also emancipating to make choices unburdened by judgment or stipulations. We are concentrating on cultivating a positive, affectionate environment for our child. We have resolved not to share any further pregnancy updates with my family. If they desire involvement, they will need to initiate contact and demonstrate their capacity to respect our boundaries. Until then, we are focusing on the excitement of becoming parents and forging the kind of loving, supportive family we wish our child to experience. The path has not been straightforward, and I still experience periods of uncertainty and sorrow, but on the whole, I feel a greater sense of serenity regarding our choices. We are constructing a network of support comprising friends and Dustin's family, and I am discovering that kinship is not solely defined by biological ties. As we anticipate our baby's arrival, I am filled with a blend of emotions: exhilaration, apprehension, and a touch of melancholy that my family may not be as engaged as I once envisioned. However, I am also imbued with resolve to disrupt the pattern and establish a distinct familial atmosphere for my child. Update 2. An additional 2 months have elapsed, and I am now deeply into my 3rd trimester. The baby is thriving and developing splendidly, and we recently discovered we are expecting a girl. Dustin and I are ecstatic. We have commenced decorating the nursery in a woodland motif, utilizing gentle greens and purples. Dustin has been adorning the walls with small animal paintings. His concealed artistic aptitude has been a pleasant revelation. We have maintained no communication with my parents or Patricia since my previous update. The quietude has been challenging, particularly as the birth nears. There are instances when I yearn to contact my mother for counsel or to convey my anticipation, but then I recall the stipulations and censure that would accompany such an interaction, and I know we are making the correct decision for our mental well-being and our daughter's welfare. Intriguingly, my conversation with Lily ignited a renewal of our friendship. We have been meeting regularly for coffee, decaffeinated for me, naturally, and it has been marvelous to re-establish our connection. She has served as an excellent support system, sharing her own experiences with her 2 children and offering a sympathetic ear when I need to express my frustrations about family matters. Lily even organized a surprise baby sprinkle for us with our close friends. It was a modest, private gathering, but it was profoundly moving. Our friends contributed books to help establish the baby's library, and we spent the afternoon exchanging parenting anecdotes and guidance. It made me realize that while I might not possess the support of my biological family, I have a robust chosen family who genuinely care for us. Regarding my professional endeavors, I have been making commendable headway on my new novel. The narrative is progressing smoothly, and I have finalized the initial draft. My editor is enthusiastic about it, and we are targeting a release date shortly after the baby's arrival. It has been arduous to reconcile writing with preparations for the infant, but it has also served as a welcome diversion from familial tension. Dustin has been exceptional throughout all of this. He has assumed more domestic duties to afford me time to write and rest. He has also been my emotional anchor, consistently there to reassure me during moments of uncertainty or sorrow concerning my family situation. Last week, we received an unforeseen letter from my maternal grandmother, Nana, 85. Nana resides in Florida and has consistently been somewhat detached from our family's internal workings. I have always held affection for her, but we do not frequently see each other due to the geographical separation. In her correspondence, Nana conveyed her displeasure with how my parents and Patricia have been treating me. She disclosed that she experienced a comparable situation with her own parents when she opted to become an educator instead of adhering to the family enterprise of operating a small grocery store. Her parents had expressed disapproval, asserting that teaching was not a suitable profession for a woman in those times. Nana encouraged me to remain authentic to myself and offered her unwavering support. She even included a check as a gift for the baby, entirely without conditions. She wrote that she hopes to visit once the baby is born and circumstances have stabilized. Nana's letter provided immense solace. It brought to my awareness that while I might lack the backing of my parents or sister, I am not isolated. I have Dustin, my friends, Dustin's family, and now Nana on my side. It serves as a potent reminder that kinship is founded on affection and encouragement, not on dominance and stipulations. We are now in complete nesting mode, making ready for our daughter's advent. We have been participating in birthing courses, visiting the hospital, and finalizing our birth strategy. Despite the familial turmoil, I feel more assured and eager about this new phase in our lives. As the due date draws near, I find myself contemplating the journey that led us here. While it has not been facile, I am proud of the limits we have established and the family we are building. I am resolved to interrupt the pattern of conditional affection and support that characterized my upbringing. Our daughter will understand that she is cherished without reservation and that her aspirations are legitimate, regardless of the path she selects in life. Update 3. Our daughter, Zoe, arrived 3 weeks ago, and our lives have been transformed in the most extraordinary manner. The delivery proceeded without complications, and both Zoe and I are faring well. Dustin has proven to be an exceptional father and partner, utilizing paternity leave to assist during these initial weeks. The first few days were a dizzying blur of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and mastering breastfeeding. But each time I gaze upon Zoe's miniature countenance, I am overcome with an immeasurable love I never knew existed. Dustin and I are learning collaboratively, providing mutual support through the trials of nascent parenthood. 2 days after Zoe's birth, I received a message from Patricia. She had seen the birth announcement I shared on social media and extended her congratulations. Her text appeared genuinely cordial, devoid of any customary critical undertones. I felt cautiously optimistic, yet also hesitant to raise my expectations. A week later, Patricia telephoned, inquiring if she could visit. After conferring with Dustin, we consented, but established explicit parameters for the visit. To our astonishment, Patricia arrived with a sincere apology. She confessed that witnessing my achievements and contentment prompted her to reevaluate the decisions she had made in her own life. Patricia disclosed that she had recently commenced therapy to address some of her personal challenges. She recognized the injustice of her treatment towards me and how much of her conduct originated from her own insecurities and the compulsion she felt to satisfy our parents' expectations. It was an unfiltered, candid dialogue that moved us both to tears. Patricia's visit proceeded favorably. She respected our limits, genuinely seemed to relish time with Zoe, and even commended my parenting. She inquired about my writing and appeared genuinely interested when I spoke about my forthcoming book. It felt like a progression towards mending our relationship. Regarding our parents, we have still received no communication from them. Patricia indicated that they are struggling to accept that their domineering conduct has alienated me. She is urging them to pursue family counseling, but it is a gradual endeavor. While a part of me hopes they will eventually reconcile, I am also at peace with the possibility that they may not. For the present, we are concentrating on our new existence as parents. Juggling childcare and my writing career is demanding, but we are navigating it day by day. I have established a compact writing alcove in the nursery where I can work while Zoe slumbers. It is not always simple, but the gratification of pursuing my passion while being present for my daughter justifies every effort. Dustin has been my steadfast support throughout all of this. He has embraced fatherhood with zeal and composure. Observing him with Zoe, singing her whimsical tunes and recounting stories, rekindles my affection for him anew. Our bond has only deepened through this experience. Nana is scheduled to visit next month, and we eagerly anticipate her meeting Zoe. Her encouragement has been invaluable to us. Lily has been a frequent guest, even providing childcare so Dustin and I could enjoy our first date night since Zoe's arrival. Our friends have rallied around us, providing meals, offering assistance, and lavishing Zoe with affection. Reflecting on this journey, I am proud of the boundaries we have established and upheld. While the circumstances with my parents remain unresolved, I am at peace with our choices. Our paramount concern is fostering an affectionate, supportive atmosphere for Zoe, free from coercion and conditional love. As I observe Zoe's daily growth and transformation, I am reminded of why I strove so diligently to pursue my aspirations. I wish for her to understand that she can chase her passions, whatever they may entail, and that her parents will endorse her without reservation. That is the heritage I desire to bestow upon my daughter. The path has not been facile, and I am certain further obstacles lie ahead. But as I sit here composing this update with Zoe slumbering tranquilly in her bassinet beside me, I know we have made the correct decisions. We are constructing the family we have always desired, one founded on affection, esteem, and encouragement. To those who might be confronting comparable difficulties with familial expectations and conditional love, I wish to impart this. Remain true to yourself. It is not always simple, but it is worthwhile. You possess the capacity to disrupt patterns and forge the existence you desire. Encompass yourself with individuals who support and cherish you unconditionally. And remember that kinship is not always about biological ties. Sometimes, it is about those who stand by you when it matters most.